Agreement paves the way for Peabody Energy's Shoal Creek mine to reopen. This is an update on the strike going on in Alabama. United Mine Workers of America on, I think this was Thursday, announced that it has reached a tentative agreement with Peabody Energy that could reopen the company's Shoal Creek mine. The longwall mine, located in Jefferson, Walker, and Tuscaloosa counties, produced 2.1 million tons of coal in 2019. It closed last October, citing declining demand for coal and loss of revenue. An announcement at the time said 350 union employees would be laid off. We expect that to be ratified. This agreement will allow the Shoal Creek mine to be reopened very soon, UMWA International President Cecil E. Roberts said. We will take this tentative contract to the membership at Shoal Creek for their final say. The explanation to the membership and ratification vote will take place next week. In a statement, Peabody Energy said it believes the tentative agreement is beneficial to all stakeholders and positions the mine to be successful going forward. We look forward to the ratification vote and will provide information regarding future plans for mine operations as they become available. Now, that agreement does not affect the ongoing strike by the UMWA against Warrior Met Coal, which has now entered its 7th month. Oh, I thought we got more of an update on it. Here, let me click on. This is a story from about 2 weeks ago. The United Mine Workers of America is hailing a decision by the National Labor Relations Board against Warrior Met Coal. The NLRB notified Warrior Met on August 13th that it is prepared to issue a complaint if the company does not enter into a settlement and provide the union with information in ongoing contract negotiations. So that was the latest update as of about 2 weeks ago in that strike. Now, supermarkets across the country are preparing for a shortage of some snack foods because of the ongoing strike at Mondelez International. Mondelez owns popular snack brands like Ritz, Belvita, Chips Ahoy, Oreo, Halls, Trident, Triscuit, and other well-known brand names. I think it's pronounced Mondelez. I might be fucking up the name, but who cares? Fuck them. We're not asking for a lot, one worker at a plant in Richmond, Virginia said. We just want a fair contract. His name is Stephen James. He said he's worked as a machine operator at a plant in Richmond, Virginia for 2 decades, making Oreos, Chips Ahoy, and other household snack names. Virginia is just one of a short list of localities in the U.S. where workers at plants operated by snack giant Mondelez International have been on a weeks-long strike since early August. The multi-state pushback against the company by union workers began on August 10th at a bakery in Portland, Oregon, where unionized workers demanded they get their pensions back. By the end of August, reports had estimated that the number of workers striking swelled at one point to at least 1,000 Mondelez employees. Mike Burlingham, the vice president of the local 364 in Portland, told the New York Times, "We want our pension back. We earned that. You goddamn right you did." Burlingham said, speaking of workers there, this is a good job where people plan for retirement. If the company could have their way, that would be gone and it wouldn't be a job worth fighting for at all. And like, make no mistake about it, that's one of the reasons why companies have lobbied so hard against Medicare for all, because they want to be able to hold insurance benefits over your head. They really do. That's one of their major bargaining chips. One major issue, workers say they experience 12 to 16-hour work days with unfair pay. In a report from the New York Times late last month, union workers said that after a previous contract with the company expired in May, they would put in grueling shifts during the pandemic to meet increased demand, at times double that of a normal 8-hour paid workday. James, the machine operator at the plant in Richmond, said he was given a one-time hazard pay of $300 for working long hours during the months that the pandemic dragged on. $300 fucking dollars, that's all. Union leaders say that Nabisco would try and pay less overtime while asking plant employees to work extra hours in order to squeeze more out of them. I think I mentioned it the other day. Never forget that the number one type of theft in this country is wage theft. Companies doing this shit. Wage theft accounts for far more of the theft in this country than any other type of theft. But we only criminalize, me going in and stealing a fucking candy bar from a company. You gotta take civil action against your employee. Oh, and then civil asset forfeiture. That's a whole nother can of worms. Don't get me started on that. I definitely don't really want to get all worked up because I opened the door and it's still like 78 degrees outside and you want me to get real close to the mic? I'm bad about red pegging, man. I'm in the red right now. Hello, Adam. Welcome to the Troll Patrol. That's when the dude called in the other day. I asked him if he wanted me to do the Howard Stern thing. Would you like to sit your balls on your speakers and let me go see if we can bring you to orgasm? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we do hard news on this show. I do a comedy show on Fridays. Oh, shit. The media organization More Perfect Union, who advocates for workers' rights and policy change, estimated that Mondelez workers could stand to lose up to $40,000 per year in future wages. More Perfect Union has accused the company of making employees work 12-hour days along with weekends work with no overtime. Fuck that shit. The biggest uprising since the Civil War happened at Blair Mountain 100 years ago. The Battle of Blair Mountain saw thousands of miners battling cops with machine guns and enduring aerial bombardment. Yet today, hardly anyone remembers a thing about it. In Logan, West Virginia, heading east from here, County Road 17 snakes up and down craggy hills for several miles before crossing an unremarkable intersection. We're reading from The Nation here. A deserted church sits on one corner. On the other, a small bronze plaque recounts the Battle of Blair Mountain, a labor dispute that saw almost 10,000 miners. The people that dig the fucking coal, not the kids you can't fuck. As if there's kids that you can fuck. Don't fuck kids. Don't do that. That's bad. A labor dispute that saw almost 10,000 miners face off against a union-busting sheriff, several thousand deputized locals, and the U.S. military. It was the largest armed uprising in the country since the Civil War. This year marks the 100th anniversary, yet hardly a soul today remembers it. The origins of the battle can be traced to the Matewan Massacre, when gun thugs working for Baldwin Felts, an infamous strike-breaking detective agency, got into a shootout with a group of miners and Sheriff Sid Hatfield after Baldwin Felts agents murdered Hatfield in revenge the following year. On the steps of the county courthouse, his death became a martyrdom that roused miners to battle. Though life was already hard enough, dangerous conditions, low wages, and exploitive credit systems were par for the course. The situation only escalated in the summer of 1921 after hundreds of striking workers were arrested and held indefinitely. Hatfield's death was the final straw. By August, thousands of miners were marching towards Matewan, intent on freeing their comrades and bringing their guerrilla version of class warfare into action. Today, downtown Matewan, population 499, stretches 2 blocks and features a barbecue joint, a halfway house, and 2 souvenir shops. On a recent Saturday morning, tucked inside a concrete building at the end of the street, 30 retired miners from Local 1440 of the United Mine Workers of America were holding their monthly meeting. The engine snarls of ATVs, visitors to Hatfield-McCory Trails, southern West Virginia's main tourism attraction, had yet to fill the air. 2 pots of coffee brewed in the kitchen, still warm egg and cheese sandwiches were laid out. Love me a good egg and cheese sandwich. A single gavel called the meeting to attention, followed by a prayer for the miners on strike in Alabama. The hall is a place for these men to banter with old friends and vote on union issues. It is the closest thing to a community center Matewan has, one of the few signs of life in an area on long decline. My family's from Matewan. West Virginia has the 6th highest state poverty rate in the country and the highest for men. The mining industry, almost 94% male, has fallen from a peak of 177,000 jobs nationwide in 1985 to around 42,000 today. I think I brought up on a stream not that long ago, Sears and Kmart employs more people than the mining industry. There's the hospital outside, Logan and Walmart for work, said Terry Steele, one of the local's more vocal members. Steele and a few others could recall running coal in the past 20 years. A handful said they had a child who had mined at one point. Proof enough that union jobs have disappeared, and with it, the opportunity for social mobility that the UMWA had offered for over 100 years. State leaders in Charleston strike a different tune, praising coal while simultaneously gutting coal communities. Coal operators, for their part, continue to operate wherever they can squeeze the last bits of coal out of the ground. Or not even squeezing them out of the ground, just going and blowing the tops off of fucking mountains and pulling it out that way. It's called strip mining. And that's an issue. I'm from this area. That's an issue because every time I drive into my hometown, I see these stripped mine fucking mountains that supposedly have been reclaimed, but fucking nothing can grow on them except like fucking evergreen trees. So you see like these mountains that have gravel all over them with like Christmas trees instead of actual forestry. And God, it makes me so sad. It is the miners who remain, with mainly small donor contributions. Local 1440 funded the completion of the West Virginia Mine Wars Museum next door, preserving a story of capitalism, oppression, and solidarity that was erased from public record. When the they bombed U.S. citizens, the bombs started falling on the slopes of Blair Mountain on Labor Day, 1921. Many realized the gravity of their situation. For almost a week, miners, numbering in the thousands, had been battling machine gun nests, commanded by Don Chafin, sheriff of Logan County. They had already refused the pleas of President Harding, who feared their struggle might inspire the nearly 2 million unemployed Americans across the country to launch a full-scale class revolution. Thousands of leaflets bearing Harding's message calling on the miners to disperse were dropped by plane and summarily ignored. By nightfall, after the rumble of the machine gun fire and the whirl of biplane engines had dissipated, the miners must have looked around from where they were perched in trees or stretched out in hastily dug trenches and seen the numbers missing from their ranks. Still, they fought on. They were protesting being forced into the mines. Their fight was the culmination of a decades-long struggle. After coal companies rejected every effort by the UMWA to win representation, armed struggle took hold. By the end of the week, somewhere between 50 and 100 miners, among them Appalachians, Italian immigrants, and African Americans, were dead. UMWA membership declined for years in the wake of the battle, but after the passage of the National Labor Relations Act in 1935, Union President John L. Lewis led the UMWA back to southern West Virginia as soldiers returning to Rome, unionizing every coal operation they encountered. The fight to unionize the West Virginia coalfields was over, or so it seemed. In the final room of the Mine Wars Museum, Kimberly McCoy, the museum's resident guide, was a great-niece of Sid Hatfield, opened up 5 different West Virginia history textbooks from the 1930s to the 1980s to the section where the Battle of Blair Mountain should have been. But they're all empty. In 1920, Governor Ephraim Morgan set up an American Constitutional Association to select the textbooks used in West Virginia schools, which excluded any mention of the state's mine wars. Generations grew up cut off from their ancestors' struggles because business leaders were afraid history would repeat itself. Instead, me growing up in eastern Kentucky, I grew up with mine company propaganda. There was bumper stickers everywhere that said "friends in low places" and showed these miners crawling with their mining hats on, or "coal, keep the lights on." Because the thing, and like even my school, we had what was called the Cedar Coal Fair, where we each had to make projects that were nothing more than sheer propaganda. We had to make a project each year about how wonderful the coal industry was. I hate Biden. Biden is an idiot. Biden is a child rapist. I love Trump. Right-wingers are fucking morons. What absolute fucking idiots they are. And it's hilarious. They just come in and announce themselves and all their idiocy.